Herkese merhaba. Hela da Gaoba. Ben İrem. Ardeşenli bir babanın Bursa doğumlu kızıyım. Ve bu bizim Lazlık hikayemiz. Hoş geldiniz. Ben her yayında Lazona'dan ya da dünyanın dört bir yanından Lazlara onların Lazlık hikayelerini soracağım. Laz kültürüyle bağlarını, dille olan ilişkilerini, çocukluk hikayelerini dinleyeceğiz. Eğer hazırsanız bugünkü konuğumla başlıyoruz. Hello, Gova. Today we have a guest from Georgia, and today's podcast will be in English. Forgive my amateurism because it is the first time that I am doing a podcast in English. So I am also very excited about this because with Maria we have been in the Laz Institute for some time, but it will be the first time that we are actually knowing her, that I am knowing her that deeply, as much as she lets us, of course. Welcome, Maria.
Hela Gaoba Iremichkimi, muchare.
Vorsi vore, si muchore.
Mardi matikai vore.
Okay, so the first, I want you to introduce yourself in Laz language, and then we can start our questions in English.
Okay, I will tell in Laz Megrelian, mostly in Megrelian. Ma Maria Abashidze vore, ma birale vorek, sakortuushe, ibibk Laz Margalur birapas, do kortul birapas. Ma btschorenk Tbilisis.
Okay, now you may do it in English.
Yes, of course. I'm Maria Bashidze. I'm a singer from Georgia, performing Laz Megrelian and Georgian songs. I live in Tbilisi, Georgia. My mother is Laz Megrelian from Samegrel region. My father is Georgian from Imreti region. I was born and raised in Moscow, Russia. I went to Russian school. Also, I finished Balakirev Music School as a violinist. Then I graduated from the American University Faculty of Business Informatics. I have 2 diplomas with honors, and now I work remotely in one of the top IT companies. And in my spare time, I like to sing and play violin, ukulele, and panduri. Also, I have an elder sister, Hatuna, who also sings and plays the piano. She also is an IT specialist. We usually sing together.
Thank you so much. Maria has an amazing voice, I would say.
Thank you.
Very I feel very spiritual when I hear your voice, when I listen to your music. I am really a fan of you. Also, the videos that you are sharing on Instagram especially, they are amazing. I also would like to say that at the beginning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, so by the way, I am also in between different languages now because all the questions were in Turkish, as you may imagine, and I translated them into English. You also have different, even mother tongues, different mother tongues. You are also bilingual. I can imagine that all our brain and all our tongue is going different directions maybe today. But yeah, let's start with the questions. So, Maria, I want you to tell us about your childhood. Maybe you can talk about the house, the family that you grow up together, and also the house that you were growing up in.
Despite the fact that my sister and I were born in and grew up in Moscow, Russia, far from our homeland, our parents gave us a love for our native languages. My sister and I grew up with great love and respect for our Megrelian and Laz traditions. My mother is a philologist. She's a linguist. Our father is a mathematician. My sister and I studied in Russian school, but at home in the family, we always spoke Georgian and Megrelian languages. At school, my sister and I were excellent students, but at home we had other lessons of love for our native culture. Mom always taught us to love our history, the history of the Kolkhs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember several moments very clearly from my childhood. For example, when my mother told my sister and me heartbreaking stories about Sarpi. She told us that far away in the Black Sea, there are Laz people who, to this day, honor their traditions and sing lullabies to their children in the Laz language. Laz and Migrelian are the same languages, the languages of the Kolkhs. We are brothers and sisters, Dalepe do Jumalepe, but time and circumstances have separated us. My sister and I listened to the stories, and our eyes filled with tears and our heart filled with love. After such stories, my mother usually began to sing the song. I think you know the song Ase Chonguri. And my sister and I sang along, and this is how our evening passed in Moscow, far from our lands. Recently, of course, the internet has developed, and now we have become even closer. I mean, Migrelians and Laz people. We follow each other on social networks, share videos and other materials. For example, today I write to my Laz friends, Heladok Aoba, in Laz language, and they answer me Gomordzgua in Migrelian language. I remember when my sister and I first discovered the Laz page on Instagram, we were very emotional because we saw with our own eyes what we listened to in childhood, like legends, the similarity of the Laz and Migrelians. It doesn't matter that we live in different countries, we still maintain our brotherhood and love for each other. We honor the traditions of all countries, but we are especially sensitive to our Laz and Migrelian traditions.
Well said. Maybe Maria, you can give us the background of the Migrelians actually, because you are the first guest in our podcast who is Migrelian. So it would be a pleasure also for us to hear about Migrelians.
Yes, of course, I will be happy to say something about Migrelians. Let's start that fact that Laz and Migrelians come from the same family. I can confidently say that we are same, like brothers and sisters. I mean, our languages are almost identical. We have an ancient history, the history of the Kolkhs. We are all children of the sun, Mjora, and we are all proud of the ancient history of Kolkhians. We remember the legend of the Argonauts and the Golden Fleece, about the healer and the Medea, Princess Medea. Now Laz and Migrelians live all over the world, but in Georgia, most Migrelians live in the western part in the Samigrelo region, in areas such as Zugdidi, Zalenjiha, Martvili, Chhorotsku, Tsenaki, and others. What can I say about Laz people in Georgia? They live on the Black Sea in Satpi, Kvariati, Gonio, Batumi, and so on. So I can say that every Migrelian is a Laz and every Laz is a Migrelian.
I am also wondering about like how long you have lived in Moscow and then you go back to Georgia.
I was born and raised in Moscow, as I said, and now I live in Tbilisi, in capital of Georgia, second year. So I finished in Moscow school, music school, university. All my friends are in Moscow. I love Moscow, of course, but I feel that I'm Kolkh, I'm Laz, Migrelian, and Georgian, and I wanna live here in Georgia, in Tbilisi.
What about the language that you were speaking when you were growing up? Let's talk about this a bit more, and I want to hear your like childhood stories about the language, because as a kid, small kid, it's not always easy to differentiate different languages. Sometimes they think about all these languages are the same, and then when they are encountering some issues on the outside world, they understand that, okay, there are different languages. How was your experience?
Since I was born and lived for a long time in Russia, my knowledge of the Russian language is excellent. So I speak Russian, Georgian, Laz Migrelian, English, and understand a little bit Turkish. I can say that I have three native languages, Laz Migrelian, Georgian, and Russian. Yes, I'm polyglot. As you said, at home we always spoke Georgian and Migrelian, no matter what country we were in. You asked about separate tongue from Georgia and so on. Yes, maybe in childhood it was a little hard, but it can be argued that it happened gradually on its own. I had to understand the difference between languages from each other several times. First, when I was taken to first grade at school, in a Russian school, I realized that people in this country speak Russian, which I practically did not understand at the time because at home we always spoke Georgian and Megrelian. I realized that every country has its own language. I realized that my classmates at home with their families speak the same language they speak at school, on the street, while walking everywhere. So it is about Russian and Laz Megrelian language. If we talk about Georgian, when we traveled to Georgia in the summertime, we usually spoke Georgian language among friends in Tbilisi, capital of Georgia. But when we visited Western Georgia, Samegrelo, the city of Zugdidi, we spoke with friends and relatives mostly in Megrelian language. So I gradually realized that there are different languages and that not every person in the world knows the Megrelian and Laz language, but they should.
Mm-hmm. I'm also wondering about the Megrelian language in Georgia. Because when we talk about the Laz language in Turkey, not all Turkish people are aware of Laz. They sometimes think that it is just a different kind of dialect without actually considering it as a separate language with all the grammar rules. What about the situation in Georgia?
In Georgia, here, this country knows that there are several languages in Georgia. A Georgian language official, Megrelian, Swan, and Laz language. Yes, people knows that this is language, not dialect. Of course, some people say that it is dialect, but I'm very angry when I hear that because Laz Megrelian, this is language, not dialect.
Yeah, it's a totally different language actually from these two. What about your level of, let's say, Laz? Because I also want to know about how Megrelian and Laz language are different from each other.
We can see another different words, and we can see that Laz and Megrelian almost the same. For example, I don't know, Mabjoho Maria. In Laz, it will be Chkimi Joho Re Maria. Sounds so similar, like the same language. Arti, Juri, Jiri, Sumi, everything.
Okay. Once when I was visiting Batumi for the first time, we crossed the border from Artvin to Batumi, and I was with my father, and we had to take a taxi, and with the taxi driver, my father found a chance to speak Laz language because it was so funny that he couldn't speak English, also the taxi driver. And my father tried to speak in Turkish. He didn't understand. He spoke in Georgian. We didn't understand. And then somehow we realized that they can speak Laz language. And that moment, I felt so like, how to say, like, I felt amazing.
Really sounds amazing. Yes, Georgian and Laz, I don't think that they are so similar languages, but I can say that Megrelian and Laz almost the same.
Okay, so now let's talk about a bit the identities. I am wondering, how was your experience when you want to describe yourself in Georgia or when you traveled around the world? I don't know if you found a chance to travel maybe in Europe, but how do you define yourself? How do you define your identity?
Yes, I love travel over the world with our family. We love travel a lot. Mostly we travel in Russia, also Europe, Turkey. So I consider myself as a Laz. Everywhere I say Mati Lazi Vore. My listeners from Georgia, Turkey, and Russia say about me, this is a girl who sings Laz songs, and I'm proud of it.
Okay, so now let's talk about a bit music because I am wondering also your journey in music. How did you start? You actually mentioned about this like childhood memories with your mother when you were speaking with your sister, but let's talk a bit more about your experience in music.
I've been singing since I could remember. I started performing on stage at the age of 3. My sister and I prepared both duets and solo songs. As I said, I graduated from the Balakirev Music School in Moscow, and violin lessons lasted 7 years. I have a diploma with honors. In addition, as I already mentioned, from the age of 3, I was a vocalist in the vocal instrumental Russian ensemble at the House of Culture named after Asahov. Me and my sister, also guitarists, drummers, and piano players. My sister and I performed a lot at international concerts and festivals, and so on. But after pandemic, after this bad time, we prefer to use internet, and so now we are making videos and so on.
Mm-hmm. How do you find the reactions of the lost people in Turkey towards your music? Because I see that they always leave some comments under your videos. They are always sharing and they like to be interacting with you actually. And I really like that. And I really see that how they are also a fan of you. How do you feel it?
Yes, I have many listeners from Turkey and from Georgia, last people, and I'm really very, very happy when they are leaving comments and writing me continue, and this is for me very big motivation to do what I do now.
Yeah, I am wondering about your experience when you were growing up. If your family ever shared the history of the lost people or Megrelian people with you, were you educated by your parents about the history of our culture?
Yes, sure. Since childhood, my mother introduced us to the history of Colchians. In our house, there were always a lot of books about our culture and traditions. And how I remember every night my mother read the legends of Colchis to us like fairy tales. And also when we traveled to Georgia, our family often traveled through the historical lands of Colchis and could absorb the incredible beauty of our lands, Kolchida and other places, Samegrelo, Black Sea, places filled with ancient history. Yes, we always were talking about history of Laz and the Megrelians.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Okay, now let's talk a bit about the culture. And I am wondering what is the first last song or could be Migrelian song that you ever remembered?
If we talk about Megrelian songs, it can be Ase Chonguri. It was first song because always mom was singing for me and my sister this song, and I remember this magic. If we talk about last song, this is Hele Mele Kismeti. Since childhood, I sang this song with my sister and mother by 3 voices, and this song for me is magical.
I also want to ask you this extra question. What is your favorite song to sing?
My favorite last song is Sima Sogora. It's a very emotional song for me, both music and lyrics. Sometimes I cry when I sing or when I listen to this song. This is very magical, folk, old and beautiful song.
Do you have a dream about the music, like our cultural music? Because this question was just out of a sudden came to my mind. But do you have a dream about, I don't know, doing anything about our music maybe in the future? Like an album, I don't know, a big concert maybe?
Yes, I'm planning to release an album with my own alpha songs. I wanna include there not just Megrelian, but also Laz songs and Georgian songs, maybe some Turkish. Yes, I have a dream like this. I want to do it in near future.
Amazing. We are looking forward to it.
Now my singles, original songs and covers are available on Spotify and other digital platforms, also at YouTube.
Yes, we can also include all the links for the people to listen. Okay, so as a person who knows many different languages, I want to ask you, do you think is there any feature of Laz or Migralian which is very different than the other languages, but maybe some of the features are different from the other languages itself?
Each language is beautiful in its own way. Each language has its own beauty, its own characteristics. But every person has a special attitude towards his native language. For me, the Laz Migralian language is the mother of all languages of the world, the most ancient language. It is a language rich in letters and grammar, a melodic language, because Laz songs are really very beautiful, and it sounds, Laz words sounds very beautiful. Many thousands of years ago, Medea and Ayet spoke precisely this language, and I think this is a very beautiful and melodic language. And now I really want this language to be alive.
It is another topic that today we will talk about. And first of all, I want to start with the Laz Institute, because I know that you are also supporting Laz Institute from kilometers away, and sometimes you are also coming to Istanbul when they have a special gathering, organization, workshops, and you are also accompanying us with your amazing voice. And I am wondering, like, how did you meet with the Laz Institute, and how did you decide to be a part of it?
So I can say that when I find out about this team, Laz Institute, I was very glad that there are so many young people who want to help save this language. I feel like I have another family that inspires me to do what I do, with whom I can share sometimes my thoughts, ideas. There are absolutely creative people with a kind heart and great love for their language. I want to help save this Laz language. For example, among my listeners, there are not just Georgians, Migralians, Laz, also Turks and Russians. And I often receive messages from fans. They send me videos of themselves putting their children to bed using my music. And I'm very touched that people let their children listen to Laz songs. I also often receive messages asking me to continue this, and now I can say that I believe that music can also help revive Laz language. The more Laz quality content we produce, the more attention of young people we will attract to this topic. And also, I want to especially mention, I admire you, Irem. I admire your enthusiasm and hard work. This podcast project really is very interesting, and I listen to every episode with great pleasure. Yes, my knowledge of Turkish is far from perfect, but anyway, I understand the basic meaning. Also, I want to say about Laz Institute that I love the work and everything what do Ismail Bucaklishi, who for so many years has been doing everything possible to help our culture and language. I'm very pleased that recently there are more and more materials in our language on the internet, and I love that I'm part of it. I also admire the teachers who teach the Laz language. I also admire students who have the desire to learn their native language. And I see that there is some progress of the process helping of Laz language, and I'm happy, and thank you for Laz Institute.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for these kind words, Maria. I also appreciate your support because you are amazingly helpful, and whenever we need some guidance, you are there for our culture, our languages, and that's amazing. Thank you so much. I know that this is very, let's say, that side of the story, but I think it's also important to talk about this. How do you feel about Laz language or Migrelian language to be under the endangered languages family?
I'm very sad that the Laz and Migrelian language is on the verge of extinction. A language with a centuries-old history really does not deserve this. We, Laz people from all over the world, should do everything we can to help our language. First of all, we must teach the Laz language to our children. I have a niece, my sister's daughter. She's 7 months old. Her name is Lizzie. Already now my sister, Hatuna, and I sing songs to her in Migrelian and Laz languages. She's already trying to sing along with us. It's so cute. Also, in a conversation with her, we speak not only Georgian, but also Migrelian, Laz Migrelian language, because this is our pride, our roots. I think to deny this language means to deny oneself. I think each of us should think about this. If this language has existed for so many years, then it has the right to continue to exist. Our mothers sang lullabies to us in Laz Migrelian. So we will sing lullabies in Laz Migrelian to our children, I hope and I believe.
In that case, do you think who has the biggest responsibility in order to protect and develop Laz language or Migrelian language?
In every Laz and Migrelian family, I think parents are responsible for ensuring that the Laz language survives. The future of this language depends on parents. It's my opinion. But of course, for this, it is necessary to prepare everything for additional motivation of people. For example, we need more books, more materials in Laz language, more songs, modern songs, films, movies, videos. It is also important to develop content on social networks. And I can say I'm so glad that the Laz Institute team is looking into this issue and making many modern content and so on in Laz language. I see that there are really progress, as I said, and our beautiful language deserves it to be alive. I can add Skidas Lazuri, Skidas Margaluri.
Yes, that was nice ending because my questions are over. It was my pleasure to host you today. Would you like to add something more, Maria?
I believe that everything will be okay, everything will be beautiful, and we will all talk in Laz language and sing Laz songs.
Thank you so much. Asha ehti.
Dedi mardi demiş gibi, masi dido ma oropen.
Mati dido ma oropen.